The content presented in this podcast and YouTube show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the guidance of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health or a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard or seen on this show. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or emergency services immediately. The host, guest, and producers of this show are not responsible for any adverse effects resulting from your use of or reliance on any information presented. Andrea, can you hear us?
Many years ago, I died for 26 seconds. There are so many people in this world that have experienced life events that have led to their soul purpose. Wake Up Your Soul with Andrea will bring you these significant life events that demonstrate how to use those moments for guidance and life purpose. These are our stories. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Wake Up Your Soul with Andrea Lynn. Today's guest is a very special guest. She's a friend of mine, and she's here to talk to us about a best-selling book she wrote, Food Stamps to Fortunes, and she's going to talk to us about her journey to impact women to become millionaires. Let's welcome Yvonne.
Hi, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here. I'm excited because I completely am on board with this mission to help women become millionaires. Go ahead and share with people what we were talking about, though, before we started filming and why you're so driven to do this mission.
Well, I think it is a great desire for most people to acquire more money because we know with more money, there's more opportunity, more experience, and our souls, I believe our souls are here for our greatest expansion to experience all of life that we can possibly experience. And I do believe that when women make more money, they're going to do more good in the world. So I'm on a mission to impact and inspire 4 million women for the greater good of all humanity, to do more goodness in the world, to show up as their best self, to step into their life's calling or their purpose. Because when a woman stands tall and shines bright, it's because she knows who she is and she loves herself. And one of the most beautiful things I heard was that you can think of money as like an energy of love. And so the more a woman loves herself, the more she's inviting financial bliss and abundance into her life. And so I am here to help women. I mean, I came from food stamps, I came from welfare, I came from a very poverty mindset. And I've been able to transform that. And it's created such a beautiful life for myself. So I really want to help other women do the same.
Do you feel like you had the same mindset as you do now as far as just the self-love goes?
No, I have had to do a lot of work. It's an ongoing process every day. Every day I'm listening, reading, journaling. I have an accompanying journal for my book. And I'm literally reprogramming my mind for health, wealth, success, happiness, joy, bliss, like all of the positive vibes.
Mhm.
But growing up, it was always lack. It was always borrowed money. It was food stamps. It was hand me downs, clothes from the neighbors. But it was always, we can't afford that. It
Mm.
was can't, and everything we did. And so I've really had to reprogram my mind.
Mm. I I love that, and I'm just thinking about as a mom how just saying the word "can't" sometimes to the kids, like, "We can't do that today. We can't," and sometimes the kids will say, like, "Gosh, you've said no all day to everything," but it's the same thing for our mindset when we're going through different things, right? Where it's like it just becomes this habit, and your brain starts getting trained in that way to think, like, I just can't do anything," and I see what you're saying with all that where it's like, "I can't do this, so" and what do you need? You need somebody else's help, and you're constantly in that mode of like, "Well, I can't do this. I need somebody to help me. I need somebody to help me. I need someone to support me," and never relying on yourself for things. So how do you break that cycle then when we become reliant on the support of a person or a system or something like that, how do you break that cycle?
Such a good question. And I do a lot of mindset coaching and business coaching. And the very first thing we have to do is become self aware. We become aware of where we are at baseline. So, how are we feeling energetically on a day in, day out basis? Because if you wake up with a bad mood, you're going to carry that mood throughout your day. So, first of all, you got to be aware of your thoughts. Your thoughts lead to feelings, and your feelings lead to actions, and your actions over and over become your identity, become your behavior. So, you need to be very mindful of the thoughts you think. Now, as humans, we think roughly 70,000 thoughts a day, and our mind is actually on programming, it's on autopilot. It's 90% of our thoughts are what we thought yesterday and the day before and the day before. So if you want a different life, it starts with just becoming self aware, being mindful of your thoughts, and changing those thoughts to serve you and not sabotage you. So, for example, you wake up, you look in the mirror, and you're like, oh my hell, look at all these wrinkles. I look so old today. So, that's a negative thought. That's negative self talk. And when you create those words and those thoughts, that image in your head, now throughout your day, you're thinking, I'm old, I look old. And so you're projecting in your reality when everybody sees you, what they see is what's going on in your mind is, I look old, I'm old. So then you start acting old, you start feeling old, you start speaking old and projecting old. So, really, everything starts with your thoughts. And they're not truly your thoughts, they're thoughts of one consciousness. They're thoughts in the ether, they're thoughts that all humanity shares. But if you claim it and you accept it as yours and then you ruminate on it, it will begin to grow and it will begin to manifest in your life.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and it's really all about, like, to take it a little bit deeper is really, and I know you're saying this too, but it's not just thinking about your thoughts, but being cognizant of what those thoughts mean at the end of the day. Like, if I have this thought, this will mean XYZ, and just really understanding what is the result of your thoughts that you're having, right?
Yes. And really, our thoughts are not black or white, they're unidentifiable, but it's the meaning you give it, right? It's the meaning you give it. So if you have a thought that, oh, it's bad for women to have money, you're giving it that meaning. But a woman having money is not good or bad, but it's the meaning you give it.
Mhm.
So for me, I've had to reframe my thinking because I was raised to believe that we don't come from money. What do you think money grows on trees? You know, we don't do that. We don't live like that. Or all people with money are bad, right? So I had to change that. And when I started changing that, I started seeing a new reality for myself. So, for example, I went to an event in Dallas, Texas, not too long ago. And in this event, it was $100 million group dinner. So you had to be making 100 million or be invited to this group. And I had never been around people that made 100 million plus. So I didn't know how they think. I didn't know how they speak. I didn't know how they show up. And what I found was the conversations going around the table were, how can we do more good in the world? How can we volunteer? How can we donate? How can we serve? And I was like, wow, this is
Blown
the most
away?
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you truly will find what you're looking for.
Mhm.
And I believe that you can shift that and live the most beautiful life and find that people are genuinely good and they want to serve, they want to help, they want to show up, and they want to make the world a better place.
Yeah, I agree, and I think there's also the flip side too, right? Not everybody wants to do good, but that has nothing to do with money. That's people that don't have it, people that do have it. There's a mix of everybody, but surround yourself with the people that have the same heart and intentions that you do, I think is really important. So, at what point in your life did you really start to realize that your mindset was a problem? Like, how old were you?
Well, I think there was nudges along the way. I remember being probably 13, standing in the mirror in the bathroom getting ready for school. And I looked at myself in the eyes and I was like, there's someone in there. Like, who am I? Like, what is this all about? It was one of those deep, who am I? That was a moment of being in the now, being present, and questioning my reality. And then another time came when I was 17 and I was kicked out of my home when I was 14, living on the streets and dropped out of school in ninth grade. And when I was 17, I was living in a single wide trailer with three other teenagers, and they were all on acid, they're all on drugs. But I was always too afraid to do drugs because I was afraid it was going to ruin my mind. And right then and there, I just heard this, Yvonne, you've got to find better friends. If you want a better life, you've got to find better friends. It's who you're surrounding yourself with. And so I made that decision right then and there to get back in school, to get, become a cheerleader, to fulfill my dreams, and to create a better life for myself. So that was kind of one of my first like pivotal moments of I need to make a better decision. And then I was newly divorced in my early 20s, and I was walking through a library in Arizona, and a book fell from the shelf, and it was Judge Judy's book, Beauty Fades, Dumb is Forever. And that book changed my life. And so I started reading personal development, personal growth books from that moment on, and I became obsessed with it. So I ended up going to school, becoming a nurse, then becoming a family nurse practitioner. And I just started getting all these ideas. And what I learned was when you find a need, turn it into an opportunity to serve and an opportunity to profit. And one idea, one degree, and I ended up building 9 businesses, multiple 6 and 7-figure businesses. I just sold a 6-figure business last week. And I have thank you. I have really tapped into what I believe is my life calling and my life's purpose. And as I've evolved spiritually, as I've grown as an individual, my calling has too. And I think it's now to the point where it's loud and clear what I need to be doing. And so my goal is to leave medicine in the next 2 years and go full time into personal development and helping make the world a better place.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. I love your story though about, when you were young and looking in the mirror and then later just had that realization that you need different friends. And it sounds like you start to really tune into that intuition and that internal voice. And I feel like everybody has that little twinkle that's going off inside of them, that little thought every once in a while. It's like things could be different, right? And I think we have to stop ignoring those and start leaning into those little voices. And it can be scary though, right? I'm sure that was a little bit scary. You got kicked out, you're off on your own. And even though these people were on acid, those were still your people, right? That was still somewhat of your place of home. And then you decide, I'm doing me. I'm just doing me, right?
Yeah, I would say we are always looking outside for the answers. We're always asking for advice. We're always judging our reality based on our external perspective.
Hmm.
But what I've learned is when you go in, you fall in love with yourself. You fall in love with your life. You start living a life of ease and flow and bliss. You're happy every day. You're having fun with your life. You're being creative. And when you go inward, your intuition gets louder. And I've had $1 million, $1 billion ideas come to me when I've gone inward and I've gotten quiet. But as long as we are external seeking validation, external viewing our world and our reality, we're judging our world and our reality from our external, we will never be fulfilled and truly happy. It's when we return to home.
Hmm.
I own a women's conference and we did our women's event last week. It's her success summit. We do a lot of internal work. And one of the activities I do with these women is I take them back to themselves. And in my book, the last chapter is Do It For Her. And it's going back to your 7-year-old self and finding her and comforting her and letting her know, like, because of you, I have this big dream on my heart. Because of you, at 7, we're laughing and playing and dancing and dreaming. Like we haven't yet adopted to society's ways of labels and programming and judgment and criticism and all the lack, all the jealousy, all the insecurities. And so when we go back to her and we heal and we love and we reinvent ourselves and we connect with her, it changes these women.
Yeah.
And I've been inspired to start a men's group, and it will be called The Calling, because men don't get in touch with their feelings.
Mm-mm.
And your feelings are your inner compass, it's your intuition, it's your guidance system, it's your GPS.
Mhm.
And so many people are struggling because they're so detached. And AI will change so much, but what it will not change is the heart of humanity. And we need to come together. We need to heal. We need to love and honor and respect one another and support each other in being our best selves and living our life's purpose and calling.
Yeah. Sounds like we're on a similar mission. And just in changing the world and helping people come home to themselves and really finding themselves and having that belief too, that self-belief that you can do anything you wanna do, and I agree. I think men struggle a little bit more than women do when they just get in the grind and the patterns of life, and they don't spend that time really having that self-reflection. They really don't give themselves the time for the quiet like we were talking about, right? And I talk about that a lot. I feel like that comes up in almost every episode. Like that is just key. Give yourself quiet because you cannot come up with any other thoughts, solutions, anything if you don't have that quiet.
Exactly. We were in a group coaching last night, and I had one gentleman in there. And he's like, Yvonne, I just don't do the journaling. I said, I know.
I
It
can
really
tell.
showed. It really it does, and I said, "I want you to think of journaling as a pressure release valve. I don't want you to analyze or think, 'What am I gonna write about?' No, just let it flow. Sit in silence 30 minutes every day and let it flow. It's decompressing. It's I mean, this is where all my creativity comes from. This is I mean, my journaling is non-negotiable. That is something I must do every day. And ideas, everything. I get to know myself. I get inspiration. I get ideas. I get insights. I get downloads. I mean, I really think that that is a missing key for most people. And I think it's like less than 5% of people truly have a vision for their life and less than 1% journal. But we know statistically, you're 42% more likely to achieve your goals and dreams if you write them down. Right? And I would love to know, I need to do the research and see what's actually the statistics
Yeah.
of relieving anxiety and depression when you just write. Just get
Mhm.
your thoughts out on paper. And nobody needs to read your journal. But because I'm an author, I've been able to go back through my journals and glean ideas and thoughts and put them in my book.
Yeah.
So it's powerful.
That's really interesting, that statistic, less than 5%. That's wild. But yeah, that's a huge part of my mission is just helping people find their purpose because I really do think, and I haven't even looked at the statistics, but I guess I should have, but that has been part of the driving force here is that I feel like when people get to the end of the road, get to their deathbed, they don't feel like they had a purpose or they don't feel like they did things like they should have or they just have this feeling of I could have done more, I could have done things differently. And for me, the ultimate goal for myself and for everybody else to help them get to this place of when you do get to the end of the road, you're you're smiling and you're like, I did it. I did everything I wanted to do and I did my absolute best on fulfilling my soul's mission.
Yes. I was in the plane one day flying, and I love being in the plane because I write. I write. And the thought came to me, our life has an expiration date, but our dreams do not.
Mhm.
So don't let your dreams die in you. Last week, I always listen to first thing in the morning, YouTubes and positive things, audiobooks. And I got this thought, Yvonne, don't take the phone with you into the shower. Like, just silence, because I take it everywhere. I'm listening all the time. I'm programming my mind, right?
Yeah.
So I left the phone out, and while I was in the shower, this idea dropped in. This is a multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar idea if I can bring it to fruition, which I believe God put it in my mind. And if it came to me, it's gotta be possible,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
That this idea will change the world. This idea will prevent suicide. This idea will help humanity. This idea will raise consciousness. And it is my job and my responsibility to do everything in my power to bring this idea to life because God instilled that in me. I got the download. Do not take your phone into the shower. And I needed to be silent in that moment to receive and to be able to visualize this idea that can change the world.
That is, like, my favorite place is the shower. I get frustrated when the kids pop in and out when I'm trying to shower. I'm like, "This is my quiet space," and the frequency of water also can really help you to just be tuned out and pulling things in, and I just love zoning out in the shower and letting things come to me, and with everything you're saying, I think that we are at this place where people feel the need to project their happiness and project this image of everything's together, but they're more lost than ever. And I think it's okay to wear that on your sleeve as well. Like, show people that I'm struggling so that they can help you. Nobody can help you if you're pretending that things are different than they really are.
Yes, how your life feels is more important than how it looks. And if you really believe that everybody on social media is what they say they are, I would clean your goggles
Yeah.
because I have seen people that I know in real life and I'm like, they're a whole different person.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
always a highlight. It's our marriage is beautiful. Our children are perfect. And to me, like you are lying to yourself. It's the world really does not care.
I actually know somebody.
You're lying to yourself. Yeah.
I know someone that's an influencer with a very large following, and I don't wanna say too much, but the husband cheats on the wife, or had, I should say. I don't know if it's current. It's funny though, because that is not what you would ever gather, and I think you would gain almost some jealousy looking at their relationship like, "Oh, I want that love," and it's like, it's no, you don't. I promise,
Yeah.
you don't.
But let's give him some grace. And I'm not excusing what he's doing. We aren't walking
Where's
in
this
his
going, Yvonne?
Yeah. We aren't walking in his shoes. We're not in his journey.
No.
And oftentimes, he's seeking something externally. He is a man that is speaking, I need to go inward,
Mhm,
but he's avoiding it
mhm.
because it's scary to go inward because you don't know what you're going to find, but what you're going to find is truth. And
Yes,
so,
but that's definitely no excuse for cheating on a wife.
no,
Yeah, but I understand that when people do that, they are hurting deeply
yeah.
inside with their
And he's
emo
not doing it to her. He's
no,
not doing it to her. He's doing it to himself. But that could be the catalyst that wakes him up.
yeah.
That could be his rock bottom that gets him to change his ways, right?
I feel like
But
every cheater's listening and they're like, "Oh, so there's hope for me." There's only
well,
hope if you can recognize that what you have done is wrong and you have done it for a reason and you can heal those reasons that you have done it.
yes.
Even then, I wouldn't take you.
So, but this is the thing. It is not our business to judge other people.
No, I know.
Absolutely not. Because when you judge someone, that says more about you than it does about them. And we don't know what his programming is. We don't know what his child traumas are. We do not know what his journey is.
Yeah.
We have no idea. But the
But
thing is
okay,
like,
this is interesting though. So, yes, I struggle with this a little bit. So, no, you don't want to sit in judgment of people. However, I do think you have to make a judgment on whether somebody is a I mean, you made judgments on the people that you were in a trailer with, right? These girls that are doing acid. You have to judge, is their lifestyle acceptable for me to be around? And I think that's okay. So I think to say no judgments 100% is too far, too far, too extreme. I think there's a time and a place for judgments that are beneficial to you. I mean, don't judge just to judge, right? But if it's something about your well-being, then I think it's a fair place to have some judgment.
Yeah, and I think the best way to come at that is, are you judging from your ego or are you judging from your higher self, which is tapped in, tuned on to your creator?
Mhm.
If you can make a judgment as God would make a judgment, or whoever you believe, whatever you believe in the higher power, if you can make a judgment from that, sure. But if you're making a judgment from your ego that, oh, I'm better than, I would never do something like that, that is not, I believe, in anyone's favor,
Yeah.
because that is just separation. That is, that's separation from consciousness.
Yeah.
So I think what we do is we extend love and we extend grace, and we know I do not know what that person's walking through. I do not know what his pains are.
Yeah.
I do not know what he's going through. And obviously it's none of my business, but I will show up as the best version of myself and give love and grace as God would do,
Mhm.
as God would treat humanity, as God would treat his child.
Yeah.
Did you know God doesn't judge us like that? At least my God doesn't. At least what I believe, right? There's nothing but pure love.
Yeah.
So I think to give each other grace. I mean, I've been through plenty of things. I mean, read my book, you'll see all the things I've done in my life. But what it's come down to is I really love who I am.
Can you share some of those things though, where your life was maybe a little derailed and getting back on track?
Yeah. So what I talk about in the book is when I was kicked out of my house at 14, I was kicked out of the house by my mom's boyfriend, husband, whatever he was at that time. He didn't like me. And he's like, "You're nothing but a bitch and you need to get out." So I had nowhere to go. I was actually the product of a one night stand. So I did not know my biological father, but I had nowhere to go. So I was on friends' couches. Even at one time when I was 17 on a cheerleader, I was living on my cheer coach's couch. So I went wherever I could, family, friends, and I ended up finding my biological father, who was an alcoholic, who held us at gunpoint, and I watched him severely beat my stepmom. And so severe that he threw up against a rock fireplace and cracked her head open. And so when I was 14, I was having sexual relationships, living on the streets. And I went to the family clinic seeking birth control and STD. Now, this was in, the 80s, early 90s. It was early 90s, probably 1990. And I don't know why I didn't need my parental consent. And maybe my mom did, maybe they called her, I don't know. But I was seeking birth control and STD screening. And it was my family nurse practitioner. For the very first time in my life, I felt loved. I felt accepted. I felt like this woman is God's divine calling to me. Like, she is the reason I'm a family nurse practitioner today. And I talk about her in my book. But had this woman not shown up in her best version, in her non-judgmental, pure love for me, and seeing me for who I was, not what I was or how I was acting or how I was living my life,
Mhm.
that is why I am the woman I am today. And that's why I extend so much grace to other people, is because we don't know what anyone's going
No.
through. Yeah.
No, I talk about that too, like with my own journey. And being very sick at different points and having judgment placed upon me when people had no idea what I was struggling with, no idea. So, yeah, I always try to just imagine that, I don't know. I'd have to put myself in their shoes. I don't know what their shoes are. And so it's just really not fair. And even if you think you definitely don't. There's always stuff that people aren't sharing. And this also reminds me of, like, one of my other episodes. I think we talked about it during the episodes, but another guest was saying similarly about the social media and what you see online, how she just kinda stopped going online and even posting about her stuff because she realized nobody was even checking in on her, because 'cause she'd run into people and they'd be like, "Oh, I see you're doing so great." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" But she wasn't putting the hard stuff on there, so people thought just from the little tiles, they knew everything that was going on in her life, and so she's also taken that a step further for herself, where she will message people, and instead of just assuming what she's seeing is everything, right, on social media, so she'll text them, "How's it going?" Because what we see is definitely not always all of it.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's so important that we build community, that we have touch points, that we're in touch with each other's lives, that we're coming together, we're healing the sisterhood, and we're truly there for each other. We show up as the version of what we are seeking in our life. So if you need more love in your life, be love to someone else. If you need companion, be a companion to somebody else. If you want someone to be of service to someone else. Because it starts with changing yourself. When you change yourself, you'll change the world. That's how we do it, is we do it from within.
I think a lot of people are going to want your tips and advice on becoming a millionaire. That's been a popular topic with some of my episodes. And I think that's some of the things people want to break the cycle of maybe their limiting beliefs that they have around money, but they want to make more money. I mean, it's expensive now. It's just expensive in general to live in this world. And so a lot of people are looking for that. So if somebody comes to you and says, Yvonne, I want to be a millionaire, what would you start them with, thought process wise?
It's all mental work. It's all we have to. First, I want to know how they think. I want to know how they speak. I want to know how they truly feel about themselves. Because again, when you deeply, deeply love yourself the way your creator loves you, we are meant to be abundant. Life is always showing us abundance. An apple tree doesn't produce one apple. If you believe in Adam and Eve, she did not have one apple to choose from on that tree. Like life is showing us abundance. There's abundance everywhere, but lack comes from the mindset.
Mhm,
It's truly not created that way. There's abundance everywhere, but I want to help you shift and reframe how you speak,
mhm,
how you think, because when you expand your mind, you expand your opportunities. When you stop saying the word I can't,
mhm.
because the minute you say I can't, you've shut down any possibility for your mind to come up with the idea. Your mind will say, okay, you're right. You sure can't. Here you go. You sure can't. I don't even use those words.
Well, and when you're saying "I can't," you're no longer looking for opportunities, right? When you have that belief of "I can do this," your next thought is "How? How can I do this?" And you're searching, but if it's "I can't," why would your brain be looking for opportunities of ways to make it happen, right?
Exactly. Yep. So we do a lot of work. We do a lot of journaling. We do a lot of reading, garbage in, garbage out.
Mm,
If you're listening, there's studies that prove this. If you're listening to harsh, heavy metal, hard rock, that changes your cellular DNA. It really does. If you're listening to Beethoven and symphony and high frequency vibrations, your whole body, you can heal your body with high vibrations. And this is scientific, it's proven. So anything that you allow in will alter your energy and your state, your frequency.
mhm,
So I only allow positive love, light into my reality.
yeah,
People say, but Yvonne, you live in a Pollyanna world. I'm like, damn right I do. I love it. I've created this most beautiful life reality that I live. I love it. I live in peace. I live in ease. I wake up every day with butterflies in my belly that I get to live this life. But I designed it intentionally.
mhm,
I am the creator and I tap into my creator. And so why would we not be able to do that?
mhm.
We're the ones that's getting in our own way.
For sure, and I think it's not as hard as people think to have this positive outlook, and it's not about false positivity either, because that's also a thing where people are just overly positive and it's not realistic. But when you're an objective thinker, with that kind of just comes this positive feeling and outlook because when you're being objective and rational with thoughts, they're not triggering and they're not angering to you. They're just reality and it's okay. Like the reality becomes okay and when it feels okay, you're not saddened by it.
You're exactly right. When you learn to master your mind, you'll master your life. You master your mind, you master your body. You master your mind, you master your habits, your cravings, your everything. Like if you're struggling with weight and you've tried every diet and you've tried every fitness program, you've hired every coach, the one thing you haven't done is you haven't mastered your mind and reprogrammed your identity.
Yeah.
You have to shift your identity that I'm a lean, fit, healthy person. So then you start acting, speaking, and behaving like a lean, fit, healthy person.
Well, and I think for people thinking that they have this bad life or, well, a lot of bad things have happened to me or yesterday was terrible, like, then write it out. Write down all the bad things that happened to you and then go back to each event and look at how maybe you could have seen it a little bit differently, right? Even if somebody backs into you, look at the positive and that there's always a way to see the flip side of it. And doesn't have to necessarily be like full blown positive, but usually there is some sort of positivity in everything. And so once you can start seeing or just let's say benefit, because I think some people might struggle with, okay, that's just too much positivity for me. But like let's look at the benefit then. Let's look at how all these events and things that maybe you thought were so bad were actually beneficial to you. And when you start seeing that things are happening for you, not to you, you start living in a different frequency. And then everything does feel kind of Pollyanna ish.
100%. And this is so powerful. One of the best activities I have my clients do is what would the 80-year-old version be saying to you right now? Because me at 48, I am so damn grateful for all the hard shit I went through. You read my book, I'm grateful for all of it. The STD, the pregnancy, the ectopic pregnancy. I'm grateful for all of that because I am a very powerful, strong woman today that needed those experiences to become who I am today. And my 80-year-old self speaks to me and she's like, oh my gosh, we made the world a more beautiful place.
Well, I
The-
think for people, though, it's easier to look back on the things that happened 10, 15, 20 years ago and be like, well, yeah, I can see how that benefited. But this is where you have to tell yourself it starts with me now and today, because what is today will eventually be 20 years ago. Right. And so it starts with today and viewing things a little bit differently.
yes, Steve Jobs says you can always connect the dots looking back.
Hmm.
But this is what faith is.
Hmm.
You have to have faith in becoming the woman you want to be. You have to have faith that God sent you here for a reason and a purpose.
Hmm.
And faith and fear are believing in the unseen, but you get to decide if you choose faith or if you choose to live out of fear.
Yeah. And I believe we are meant to live in a state of happiness and bliss, but I think we are thrown obstacles to make sure that we are actually there, right? If we can't push through the difficult things, then we aren't actually in this eternal bliss.
Yeah, it's contrast. You will always find contrast, and as we should. We wouldn't be able to enjoy the beautiful life if there wasn't some brutality to it,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your journal, can you share a few things that are in this book journal that you have?
Yeah.
The best of you?
So one of the things I have in that is I've done a lot of work with Tony Robbins. So really being the healthiest version. So the best of you journal. What are the things you need to do to be the healthiest version of you? So those steps are in there. And then what do you need to do to live a very fulfilled life?
Mhm.
Faith, family, fun, fitness, finances, philanthropy, friends. So you, in the journal, you track and measure because we can't improve what we don't track and measure. And you give yourself a point for every F you achieve in the day. Did you call a friend? Did you review your finances? Did you contribute? Did you give back? Did you serve? Did you say your prayer? Did you do your meditation? And we know life is very hard to balance with all that's going on, but we don't need to balance our life. We need to be fulfilled,
Mhm.
be in love with our life, love this experience and this
Mhm.
opportunity, this journey. So, and then a lot of reflecting, a lot of doodling, and just really being still with your thoughts.
Mhm.
So, one of the prompts is I sat quiet and this is what happened. I sat in silence and this is what happened. This idea came, this thought came, this realization. If we don't reflect on what triggers us, if we don't reflect on how we can do better, right? Then we can't improve.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of reflecting. There's a lot of prompts, but it's pretty powerful. And I get tons of messages every day of how it's helped men and women. I originally wrote it for women, but so many men have come to me and been like, this helps men too. And they're
And
feeling left out right now.
yeah,
Women are doing a lot of work and the men don't know where to start.
it's Yeah, it's funny because 'cause I've had men come to me too where they're like, "Can you help me?" As if it's like, "Is this a thing for men? Can men be helped, or are we just a lost cause?"
It's beautiful, though.
Yeah.
We're all here to help and serve one another.
Yeah, and like you're saying, we really are meant to live in this bliss and happiness, and what are we doing here if we aren't enjoying our lives? So many people are just in this rat race and not loving it, and you can find a way to love it, and you don't always have to make a full-blown pivot to something completely different. We can find a way to love the life that we already have created. We just have to have that perspective shift.
Yeah, and why would God give you more if you're not grateful for what he's already given you?
Yeah,
If you want more out of life, more in life, how often do you go to God and your creator and say, thank you?
yeah.
Thank you. This is so beautiful. Thank you. Gratitude is the answer for sure.
I mean, I'll be honest, I have moments that this actually happened to me, like, yesterday where I was thanking God for something, and I was like I actually had some guilt for not saying it sooner, and I was like, "But I did say it. I did come to it," you know? But it it it's human nature.
That's our expression for love, showing God love is through gratitude
Yeah,
and appreciation. And when you have gratitude and appreciation, so much more will come in.
yeah. It makes total sense, right? Like, he's not gonna just keep dishing out the goodness, like, "Oh, you don't appreciate anything? But here's some more. Sure, sure, honey." Yeah.
Yeah.
Yvonne, where can people find your books if they wanna order them?
So Amazon, and we are launching our audio version soon. And then my website, thebestofyvonne.com. And then you can find me on Instagram at the best of Yvonne.
Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. I know it's going to inspire people, and I'm sure people will order your book because it sounds amazing. Well, both of them,
Thank,
but the journal sounds really amazing as just like that practical tool for every day.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.